Chapter 122. The Awakening. Suru stared through his cockpit monitors at the shattered, lifeless pieces of the green crystal giant, littering the desert floor. He looked toward the 3 yellow machines, standing guard before him. "Thanks, Risa. Now you can go." The yellow robots glinted in the sunlight, looked at each other for a brief second, and ignited their thrusters, flying away back toward the horizon. Suddenly, a jolt of panic hit Suru. "Oh, Kiko." He gripped his controls, maxed out the engines to their absolute limits, and the damaged red robot rocketed up into the sky, flying at top speed back toward the arena. Meanwhile, back in the stadium, Kiko stood completely paralyzed with shock, her breath catching as she watched the water monster's devastating torrent get cleanly sliced away. Veratros slowly pushed himself up from the debris, gasping for air as he came to himself, his voice weak. "Kiko." Before she could answer, a deafening roar echoed from above. Suru's red robot appeared high over the arena walls, levitating in mid-air. Suru screamed at the top of his lungs. "Kiko!" Hearing her name, Kiko turned and began to run across the background of the shattered arena floor. She looked up, spotting Suru hovering overhead, but her eyes quickly darted to the center of the battlefield. There, she saw Age Taika and Fuma, battered, but standing side by side, facing down Ishori. Ishori tilted his head up, his cold eyes locking onto Suru and his smoking machine. A humorless smirk played on his lips. "Well, this is something. How did you manage to destroy my giant?" He shook his head, his tone turning instantly dismissive. "It does not matter." Ishori calmly raised his hand, pointing a single, pale finger directly at the sky. "Techie, laser blast." In that split second, time seemed to slow down. Kiko and every single fighter present froze in. Absolute horror. A blinding, hyper-concentrated beam of destructive energy erupted from Ishori's fingertip. It reached Suru's robot in a fraction of a heartbeat. Boom! The entire red robot erupted into a violent, fiery explosion, tearing the machine apart in the sky. Kiko stopped dead in her tracks. She stood there, frozen, her entire body shaking violently as ash and debris rained down around her. The sight of the explosion triggered something deep within her, and her mind violently snapped backward into a memory. She was back at the training grounds, completely exhausted and drenched in sweat, breathing heavily alongside Veratros. Veratros had looked at her, his voice firm but patient. "The goal is not to fight with anger against the enemy, Kiko. It is most important to control that anger and channel your energy. Then, you will be the strongest of all." In the flashback, Kiko had shouted back, her voice thick with bitter rage and pain. "But all the people look at me with fear. I don't even know my own father." Veratros had looked surprised for a moment, his expression softening. Then, he smiled at her, warmly. It's not important who you know or who you don't. The most important thing is to know yourself and to care about the people who love you." The memory shattered. Kiko snapped back to the present, the image of Suru's exploding robot, burning in her mind. She clenched her teeth so hard they groaned, a few tears of pure agony and rage escaping her eyes and cutting through the dust on her face. She glared at the conqueror. "You hurted the wrong person." Ishori only smiled arrogantly, completely unbothered. Kiko's voice dropped to a deadly, echoing whisper. "Now you will die." Ishori let out a lazy, mocking laugh. "Nice joke. I haven't seen anything serious since the moment I came here." But suddenly, Ishori's laughter cut short, his arrogant expression twisted into pure surprise. The ground beneath their feet began to violently shake. Fierce arcs of yellow electricity crackled aggressively around Kiko's body, radiating a crushing, suffocating pressure that distorted the very air around her. Ishori stepped back, his eyes widening.
"What the?"
Across the field, the exhausted Fuma and Age shielded their eyes, looking over in absolute disbelief. Even Juro, who was busy trying to blow another hole into the Iron Giant's shoulder, stopped in his tracks to look back. Vlad the Giant stared in awe, his jaw dropping. What the hell is this? Then, it happened. Kiko threw her head back and started screaming like crazy. A raw, primal, earth-shattering shriek. An enormous, blinding blast of sonic and spiritual energy erupted from her mouth, tearing through the stone floor and instantly reaching Ishori. Reacting at the very last second, Ishori threw his hands up in a desperate crossguard to protect himself. The sheer, terrifying velocity of the blast slammed into him, lifting him off his feet. He was pushed and pushed backward through the air, his boots cutting deep trenches into the stadium walls as he tried to hold his ground. The shockwave radiating from Kiko was so immense that Agi and Fuma were violently blown away, thrown many meters across the arena like ragdolls. In the background, Veritros stared. Through the blinding light, his face pale with utter shock. Kiko! Ishori gritted his teeth, his muscles straining to the breaking point as he tried to block the unrelenting torrent of power, but he was completely unable to stop it. He was losing control. I can't believe this bitch has this much power. It's impossible. Ishori roared in his mind, his hands burning under the friction. This is like Bosa Terrace, but 50 times stronger. Are you kidding me? The ground shook harder and harder, cracks spreading across the entire landscape as Kiko's unyielding scream echoed to the heavens. Everybody stood paralyzed, completely trapped in a state of absolute, profound shock.